Hello there, this is Mrs. Hanson, and I am using a cool new document camera for the first time, so I'm hoping this goes well. This is for my Art Foundation students who were not in class on the 22nd or the 23rd of September. This is what we talked about in class, and you're going to need to know about this for our upcoming project. So what I'm talking about today is drawing using an SUM, or, let me turn it upside down for you, standard unit of measurement. What this means is that when you have some shapes and you are trying to draw, look at this, and then recreate it and draw it on another sheet of paper, it is helpful to place everything correctly if you compare the size of things. So you want to know how big is this relative to one of the other shapes. That might sound a little confusing, but stay with me. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, if this is the picture that I want to draw onto my blank piece, I am going to start somewhere. And I'm going to start by choosing this oval as my starting point. And I'm just going to take a guess. I'm going to make it larger. Say I want it a little larger. So I am going to draw my oval. Does not have to be perfect. I'm going to draw a little darker than I usually would at this stage so that you can see. But if you're really doing this, you would want to draw lightly because this is a preliminary underdrawing, okay? So now I want to start placing these objects in the correct relative space, and I want to do it over here. So what I'm going to do first is decide, for example, I'm going to give myself a couple of tick marks. So I look at this corner and I think, oh, it leaves about that much space between this shape and this corner. So I'm just going to take a guess over here, and I'm going to put mine right about there. Okay? And that's just a guess, and you have to make some guesses. Now I'm going to measure the length of this line, not with a ruler, oh no. I'm going to use my standard unit of measurement right here. So I'm going to lay my pencil down with the tip right at the tip of that shape, that oval, and I'm going to place my fingers at the bottom. So now I have a measurement of that shape. And now I am going to turn it this way and find out how many oval lengths is this line. So now I'm going to put my fingers at the edge of this line, and then I'm going to move it up. So this is one oval. I'm going to move it up. It's about 1 and a little bit more than half ovals long. So remember the number 1.5. Now let's scoot over to our drawing. Remember, this is larger than our other one. So we need to take a new standard of measurement using this shape. Okay, so here's our oval measurement now. On our other piece, it was smaller, but we're going to enlarge it by taking this standard measurement. So now I'm going to come over to where my line starts, place my fingers at the bottom, my other finger here, that's one oval, half an oval. So this line, let's compare. The whole thing is larger. Trying to get them both in there. There we go. The whole thing is larger, but it's about the same length. This is in proportion to the larger oval. This is in proportion to the smaller oval. Okay, so let's continue and see if we can finish drawing this shape relative to this shape. So I notice on my line right away that the angle is off. When I lay my pencil here, it's pretty much a vertical line. When I lay it on my drawing, it has too much of an angle. Okay, so I'm just going to simply straighten this out. Now, when you draw, it is a series of corrections. So don't be afraid to make a mistake, and don't be afraid to use your eraser. Also, when I'm doing this, I look at my negative spaces. Like, does this shape, this space in here, look about like that? And I think it does. So I think we're in a good place. So now let's find out how long this is with our standard unit of measurement. So we're going to once again pick up our unit of measurement, move it to this line, 1 and over half, just over half. That's that length. So I'm going to take my standard of measurement on mine, move it to this spot and say 1, and I think it was over half right about there. Now a good idea is to check this angle. So if this is horizontal, this angle is just slightly pointing up. So I want to achieve that on my drawing. So I'm going to slightly point it up, and I'm going to say that that is pretty close to that. Oops. Okay. So let's see now if we can just use our angle tool to see. Oh, I already see a problem though. So when you're drawing, you're just going to correct, because this is almost more of a right angle. Mine got a little too angled here, so I'm going to fix that. Now I'm going to try to connect this line of the triangle, and I'm going to look at that angle relative to my drawing, and okay, I feel like that is pretty darn close. Now we're going to keep going on to the next shape and the next and the next. And as you go about this, you're going to notice lots of times when you're going to have to make corrections, okay? Let me just go along. I'm going to look at this point relative to this point. It seems like it's about here. Now I'm going to look at this negative space, this angle, and it comes down like this and intersects almost. And this point, I notice, comes just past this point. Being as exact as you can is really going to help you in this instance. Okay, so I feel pretty good about that. I feel like we're doing okay. Yeah. Okay, so one measurement I'm going to take is how far is it from here all the way over to here? Let's just check. Let's take our standard unit, 1 and about 2/3. I'm going to check mine. 1 and about, yeah, oh, that's pretty awesome. We are just right in there. If you found a mistake, you would just correct it. So now I want to check this angle. If this is horizontal, we have an angle here that's pointing up. So I'm going to try to replicate that angle as best I can. And again, you got to throw some guesswork in there. It's never going to be perfect. Okay, now let's check the length of this line. Standard unit, 1, 2, and about 2/3 of my standard unit. So I'm going to pick up this standard unit, 1, 2, oh look, it's too short. So I make that correction. I'm glad I checked that because it was significantly shorter. All right, so I will keep going here and keep doing my best to connect to make these shapes look right. Now, the key is you have to keep looking back and forth. Sometimes I notice students take one quick look at this, and then they come over here and then they just draw for a long time. That is not good. You want to be studying this and figuring out what's wrong. Something's not quite right, and you're going to use the standard of measurement and the angles that I showed you to do. You can also drop horizontal and vertical lines. So for example, if I lay my pencil right at this corner and it's going horizontally here, and I look at that space, I'll do that here. I did that in the beginning. That looks about right to me, right? Okay, so other things that you can do is you can say, where is this shape? Where would it intersect with this shape, right? Is it halfway? Is it more than halfway? And this is the way that you use the standard unit of measurement to measure other shapes. It's a skill that's going to take some time, but as you work on it, it will become easier and easier. So take a moment, try this in your sketchbook. And then the surprise that I showed in class was that people think they can't draw the human form, but actually these shapes are shapes that will help us draw this human form. So we can turn it, I guess that's upside down to you. Sorry. So you can see that what we have is the beginning. Once we get these shapes in, we have the beginning of the structure of this human form. Okay? So the first step is to think about only shapes and not worry about the fact that it's a person. And then learn how to draw the shapes in the right proportion. Then you can move on to adding in more and more detail. And I'll walk you through that in our project. So I hope this helps you understand how to use the standard unit of measurement to figure out the proportions of your shapes. Okay, thank you.